Welcome to Our Girl Relationships. We talk about the problems people face in their day to day lives. Let's start with the video. No matter what anyone says to me, I am convinced that it pays to be a good person. It pays to help people out when they are in need, especially when you do it according to the goodness of your heart and don't expect anything in return. I had this great aunt who became homeless after her divorce. She needed help, but I seemed to be the only one who was interested in helping her. Even my parents advised me not to take more than I could handle because I was still a young adult and was essentially just starting out life. All the things my parents said were valid, but I couldn't say no to someone I was sure was hurting and needed help. I knew she needed her family's support much more than putting a roof over her head and giving her financial assistance. She needed people around her who loved her unconditionally after a very messy divorce. She stayed with me for a few months until she got back her bearings, which was surprisingly quicker than I expected. In the time we lived together, I learned a lot from her, and she had quickly become one of my favorite people. Over the months, I could tell when the light was getting back into her eyes and she found a purpose for living again. After she lost her only child in a car accident, her marriage changed forever. They couldn't console each other. Instead, they fought themselves until there was nothing left worth fighting for. They had spent a lot trying to save their child's life after the accident, to no avail. Their finances got affected, and their love dwindled. No intervention could have saved their marriage, except they both were willing to give it a try again. My great aunt told me she would have done anything, sold all she had, and even took a loan to save her child's life. But he still died. He had a broken spine and so many broken bones that if he lived, he wouldn't be able to live his normal life. For months, he fought for his life. It was so sad knowing he was the only child. Her marriage only lasted a year after her son died. She had repeatedly said it was the worst year of her life, and she wouldn't wish it on anyone, even her enemies. My great aunt was so devastated, and most times I wasn't sure how to console her. I would just sit there with her and hope that my presence was enough for her. Many years later, my great aunt died, and the lawyer told me my aunt handed me over her secret fortune. I had so many questions. Questions like how she got that much money and why she gave it to me. If she was this rich, why did she pretend to be homeless? Apparently, she had put it all in the trust fund for when her child turned 30, but he never got there. The money was so huge, it made me lightheaded when I found the exact figure. She wrote a letter thanking me for being there when she needed a family. My great aunt said since her son's death, she could not think of any other person who would handle the funds properly except me. She warned me that people may come to fight me and try to get the money away from me. That was why she made everything legal. She told me she wanted me to have her money. So no matter what others did to intimidate me, I should not budge. It was a great responsibility to suddenly be in charge of that money. Sometimes I would get anxious and worried that I would squander it. There is a difference between working hard and building up to be able to have that kind of money and just waking up and having it one day. My great aunt was so right because once word got out, I became the enemy that didn't want to share the inheritance. Everyone suddenly felt that they were entitled to some of her money. They fought me so hard, called me names, and harassed me at different times. Even though my parents didn't fight me, they thought she could have given them something too. These were the same people who told me not to help her because I didn't need all her baggage and that she was a burden. Well, turns out I really did need all her baggage because In one of them was a ton of money. It still baffles me how some of her family members on both sides think they have a say in the money. Every day, I receive a call or text from at least one person telling me about how selfish I am and that I stole what was rightfully theirs. Some even go as far as showing up at my house to harass me. The best part is I also don't have access to the money till I turn 30, so I don't know what the fuss is about. If they push me to the wall, I would report all of them to the police and most likely get a restraining order. I don't want to do that because it would cause more problems in the family. Sometimes I think I'm too nice for my own good because these people have done everything to disturb my peace these past few months, and I'm still reluctant to make them face the law. On the flip side, there is a balance because my fiance can't tolerate them. So he protects me and ensures nothing goes out of hand. Left to him, he would have long gotten the restraining order against them. The issues died a bit since no one had access to the money. I'm turning 30 in a few weeks and the tension is high. During the waiting time, some people tried to get close to me and be nice to me, but I could see through their act. How can the same people who hated so much and wanted to get rid of me, by all means, be the same ones to be so nice to me? I would have said they turned a new leaf if I didn't know better. The amount of people that call me for help now is alarming. Sometimes I wondered if they were aware that I also couldn't access the money. I helped some the best way I could, but most times it wasn't enough for them. They thought I had so much money and was just being greedy. Worse were the people I couldn't help. To them, I was the enemy. My great aunt's lawyer informed me that someone tried to bribe him to change up her will so some of my great aunt's wealth could go to them. They claimed to be more family to her than I could ever be. The lawyer told me he wanted me to be very careful, only go to public places and not stay out too long because they could do anything, especially now that I was turning 30 very soon. He even suggested I get my personal security personnel, but I thought it was too much, so I refused. I knew they wanted the money, but I didn't think they would go as far as hurting me to get it. I got access to the money and there was an uproar. It's like how it was when I first found out about the money. At this point, I'm fed up with them. They need to know their place and stay there. I was done giving excuses for them. They didn't lend a helping hand to the woman when she needed it, and I did. Because I did, I got a reward for it. It's high time everyone minds their business and stops being all up in mine. The last straw was when some of them came by my fiance and me. They thought I would be intimidated by them like I was before. It's my money and I'll do whatever I want. I'm not going to give anyone a dime. Formerly, I was considering it, but I came to my senses. I reported most of them to the police and they all got a warning, and some of them a restraining order. I thought my parents would be happy with me for stopping this foolishness. To my surprise, they were upset with me and said the money was getting to my head. They also said that formerly I would not have thought of reporting my family to the police, but the money made me feel I had power over everyone else. I wonder if they didn't see how uncomfortable it was for me to constantly have people on my neck, people who didn't have my best interest at heart. I honestly don't care what anyone thinks. My mental health and peace of mind are essential to me now. How I feel is definitely not how it should feel to be rich. I have cut everyone off and blocked all their numbers. My fiance and I would also be moving to a new apartment. We intend to live a more private life from now on. If my parents are still acting up, I'll give them time, and if they don't come around, it's their loss. I have a few big ideas about what I'll use the money for. My great aunt has given me a new life, and I can't thank her enough. If anything, I owe it to her to build a legacy with it. She gave me an opportunity of a lifetime. In my wildest dreams, I would never have thought that this would happen. I have decided that family members are the least of my worries, and I'll try my best to keep them at bay and move on with my life. NTA, family members, would always be family members. I think you were paying too much attention to them. You should have gotten the restraining order at the very beginning. Dear, protect your peace at all costs and don't let anyone make you feel like you are doing something wrong. NTA, I don't think it's wrong to give some of your family members some of the money, but it is totally up to you, and no one should force you to do what you don't want to do. It's annoying how entitled they feel to the money. This is money from someone who nobody wants to help. They even try to discourage you from helping her. They should be ashamed of themselves. Instead, they want to participate in what they don't deserve. Anyone thought about how condescending her parents are? My family is renting a house for the weekend, and I volunteered to do the grocery run. I also said I would take the kids with me so they weren't underfoot while everyone unpacked. 2 are mine, 2 are my sister's, and 1 is my brother's. While at the store, I said each kid could have a discretionary budget of $10 for snack food. Keep in mind that that's $50 altogether. One of my sister's kids wanted a box of Gushers and 2 of the tins of Blue Diamond almonds. That's $13 altogether. I suggested she put back the tins and get a bag of the store brand instead, which is actually more almonds, weight-wise, and would put her at around that $10 mark. She said she didn't want to because she wanted those flavors. I suggested she put back the Gushers and get a cheaper candy then. She started to cry, so I said I was sorry, but she needed to decide what she wanted most because she can't have everything. She got 2 bags of gummies instead of the Gushers and she was put out, but the situation was resolved. Then she saw what my kids got. They both got store brand stuff, so they had a ton. They got multiple of the 98-cent bags of great value candy, a huge bag of chips each, and a bunch of those Girl Scout knockoff cookies. They were both at $10. My niece started crying, asking why they got more. When her sister realized my kids got more than her too, she also started crying. I explained that some brands are less expensive and said we could pick out other snacks for them so they could also get more. But they wanted the snacks they had, just in equal quantities to what my kids got. Then my nephew joined in and said he also wanted more. At that point, I was exhausted, so I just took the kids to check out and bought everything and we left. When we got back, I started putting groceries away. My nieces ran to their mom and complained about all the snacks my kids got. Instead of telling them to be appreciative that I took them to get stuff they wanted, my sister came over and asked why I wouldn't get her kids what they wanted. I explained that if I raised their price ceiling to $15, I'd have to for the other 3. And then I'd be paying $75 for junk in addition to the $200 for regular groceries. My sister rolled her eyes and called me a miser. I was really mad because I just spent $250 on food for our whole family and don't even get a thank you? My husband said it's not worth being upset about, but I am upset. My brother said I wasn't wrong to want to treat the kids equally, but if I let my niece buy her initial choices, no one would have realized she went over and the whole situation would have been avoided. So, was I TA? NTA. For one, your sister should be grateful that you bought snacks for her kids with your own money instead of acting entitled. Also, It would not have been fair if the kids didn't get the same amount. You suggested store brand, cheaper stuff, so your nieces could get more value for money, but they refused. And most importantly, kids need to learn that you can't have everything you want, that things cost, and you have to prioritize how you spend your money. It's okay to make them choose. It's okay to say no. We don't have money for that. Absolutely, NTA. You gave alternative options and explained why your kids got more. It wasn't where they spent more money. They were just more careful about what they bought and bought cheaper options. The kids need to learn that. Unfortunately, sometimes that means sacrificing other things and that they can't always get what they want. And you can let your siblings know that they can take their kids back to the store and buy them what they want with their own money. And good for you for sticking to your budget. Even if no one would have noticed, you would have, and that is enough. I dated Kathy for a year, and we have a daughter together, Maddie, 8, female. We tried 50-50 custody, but Kathy has 2 kids from a previous relationship that constantly bullied Maddie. She'd come home in tears and refused to leave my side every week. Then she married Paul, who had 4 of his own kids, and they had 3 more together. They had a 4-bedroom house when they moved in together. Maddie also had dyspraxia, anxiety, and sensory processing disorder. She already struggled living with her 2 half-sisters half the time, and the extra people was just too much for her. Her first and only week with all of the step and half siblings, she hid in a cabinet until I came to pick her up a few hours later. Kathy tried to ease her into it, but Maddie just couldn't handle being around so many people, so she gave me full custody right before Maddie's 3rd birthday. I agreed to let her visit whenever she wanted, as long as she told me a day in advance. At first, she used to visit Maddie at least once a week. She'd take her to the playground, the zoo, out for picnics, and to the beach. As she had more and more kids and her bio and stepkids got older and had busier schedules, the visits started to decrease. She's been seeing Maddie once a month at best for years now. I married Laurie when Maddie was 5, and Maddie adores her. She calls Laurie her mommy, and they do everything together. Kathy never liked that Maddie had another mommy, but she never said anything to Maddie. A few months ago, Maddie and Kathy went to the zoo. Maddie was having a rough day, so I sent her with a phone and told her to call us if she needed to come home. Kathy returned Maddie that evening, and Maddie immediately ran to Laurie and refused to let go. Apparently, Maddie decided that she wanted to go home shortly after they got to the zoo, but Kathy refused to take her home and took her phone when she tried to call because Maddie kept asking for her mommy, even though she was with her real mommy. Maddie hasn't wanted to see Kathy since, and I haven't forced her. Kathy texted me yesterday and said that she wants to take Maddie to the park tomorrow, and I said no. She reminded me that I promised that she could see Maddie whenever she wanted, and I told her that things are different now and I don't feel comfortable letting her see my daughter after the zoo incident. She came to my house demanding to see Maddie and is now threatening to go to court for custody. So I wanted to know if I was the a-hole. NTA. Kathy legally cannot prevent your daughter from contacting you. I'm an autistic mom of 2 autistic kids. What I recommend is having the psychologist who diagnosed Maddie write up a detailed list of her needs, including social ones. And I would deal with Kathy only through an attorney. You need to have a parenting plan in place that includes Maddie's sensory needs. When I got divorced, I had my attorney file an order for a parenting coordinator. Another psychologist who could intervene if my kid's dad wanted to push them to do something they couldn't. I advise you to be proactive about this and get this set up now before Kathy pushes more. Also, please document everything. Preventing Maddie from calling you is a big legal no-no. And thank you for protecting your daughter. NTA. You made an agreement with your ex that evolved as Maddie has grown and things in your lives changed. Just as Kathy used to visit Maddie weekly and now does not. You can no longer guarantee that Kathy can just drop in with a day's notice. Maddie is now old enough to express her own wants, and right now, she does not want to see Kathy. This was due to Kathy's actions, not yours. It is appropriate that you give Maddie some space and time. When Maddie is ready, you might want to offer for Kathy to visit while you are present so that Maddie feels safe and comfortable. Kathy's damaged and further crumbling relationship with Maddie is a result of her own choices and behaviors. It is now on her to fix it and to do so with the consideration that a child with several disorders, including anxiety, deserves. Simply yelling at Maddie and then yelling at you does not indicate that she wants to improve her relationship with Maddie. It just indicates that she wants Maddie to be a good doll who plays the perfect daughter whenever Kathy deigns to drop in. Your job in this is to respect and care for your daughter, not force her to politely fake a relationship with an absentee parent. NTA. But the second she utters the words custody and court, I would direct any further communication to an attorney, or at least document and further conversations if possible. If she has an official diagnosis, her doctor should be able to document what your daughter's precise needs are and how your ex is supposed to navigate them. Her jealousy doesn't give her a free pass to be petty to her daughter and potentially hurt her with her childish behavior.